What's up, everyone? I have been requested by at least one viewer to make a guide for Guardian Bear, so I am going to go ahead and do that. First, of course, let's cover my qualifications. I did make this tier list, and I'm sorry to all the boomkins, but you guys know, as soon as you've got Starfall running and your tank decides to chain, you are probably getting a free promotion to tank. Also, my dog believes in me. Definitely has nothing to do with stream giving treats all the time. And finally, I have this stellar review on LFG, where to this day, I don't know if it's referring to me in real life as a bear or my character, because I know my character is not middle-aged. Now, reasons I'm not qualified is, no, there's too many of those to list, so feel free to put those in the comment section if you want. But mostly, I didn't donate all this while claiming I'm doing this for the community, and because I'm passionate about WoW, so surely that makes me unqualified. Alright, let's jump into the talents. Here's the build I'm recommending. I will put the code down in the description, as well as anytime in stream chat, if you use the talents command, it'll pull it up. You can play around with a few talents here to adjust it to your gameplay and style. In most cases, in the class tree, I'm going to see probably based on the dungeon, you might move Primal Fury, Improved Stampeding Roar, Natural Recovery, Perfectly Honed Instincts, Remove Corruption, maybe a few others, into some other talent points based on your gameplay. Personally, I am going to be taking Primal Fury. It's going to increase your prio damage. It's also going to increase your single target damage. Improved Stampeding Roar is going to be one of the most powerful movement abilities in what's predicted to be the meta comp. It's going to help you get gathers done faster, and it's just going to help the whole team get to the next pull. And I'm not taking Boomkin form. It's always been a little weak, but it's helped with certain groupings and gathers. But I just think the other points are better options. So, sorry Tettles and all the other Boomkins. I probably am going to have you cast Bear form, but I am not going to cast Chimkin form. In the Guardian tree, you can swap Natural Resilience or Reinforced Fur with Ursol's Warding, and that might become necessary at the very top end. However, for most gameplay, it's not going to be necessary. I also saw quite a few bears experimenting with removing Flashing Claws. I'm going to advise against that. Thrash is still the majority of your damage, about 50%, and it interacts with the tier set, as well as you get an extra stack of Raging Terror from Flashing Claws. So that's about as flexible as I think the Guardian tree will be. Alright, so moving on to our rotation, I think the basic rotation is still going to be Thrash is your most important pull. I'm sorry, cast on pull. And that's because Vunation's been changed, right? So even if it's a long gather, you're not going to want to Winter Beam before you start thrashing. You're going to want to thrash right away. And then you're going to go right into Winter Beam as soon as you can. That means if this is a long gather, you want to wait until you plant to cast Winter Beam. But if you can cast it right away because you're pulling everything to the destination you're at, then you're going to want to Winter Beam right away. Then Mangle becomes your next priority, and finally Iron Fur. Swipe and Maul are still dead, and let's go into why. So Thrash is the most important button to push right away. It's a short CD, it's going to give you stacks of Rend and Terror, it's going to generate AoE threat, it can proc the tier set right away, so you want to slap that button right away. Winter Beam is still second prio. Like I said, if pulls gathered, you want to drop Winter Beam. It's going to increase your mastery, which is going to make you tankier, increases your survivability, it just gives you that extra damage done. However, since it is no longer reduced by arcane spells, you do want to be mindful when you're dropping. And then, like I just said, Winter Beam is no longer reduced, so Mangle now becomes your next prio. It's going to generate Rage, that's going to help you cooldown reduce Incarn, and it's going to be doing that prio damage that you want. After that, Moonfire becomes your next prio. Obviously, Moonfire is giving you Scintillating Moonlight, which is damage reduction. It can proc 3 of a Loon. It's going to give you quite a bit of extra damage there. So now I'm just reading my notes. Okay, and finally, the last spell to take into consideration is Heart of the Wild. You're going to be using it for Feral Frenzy damage on single target still. It is going to be a little bit trickier because You do want it during the Lunar Beam window, so you are going to be trying to time it to land in those windows. All right. Now, there's a few niche cases where some gameplay might change, and I'm going to cover those now. For most players, this probably isn't something you're interested in, but we'll jump into it. First, Incarn, it's not going to change your rotation, except for one of these cases. So if you're truly trying to min-max your damage, you will maul once per Incarn, and that's because it's going to trigger the Apex Awakened Spirits. During my testing in Ruby Life Pools, it really was less than a 1% damage increase in 5 targets. I do think it'll be slightly more in really large pools because of the 30% damage increase to Thrash, but it's not going to be game changer for most of us. All right. So Swipe, you're not really going to use Swipe. Gore is a chance per cast to proc, and Swipe and Moonfire have the same chance of proccing based on that. However, in really large packs, Galactic Guardian procs per instance of damage. So Swipe hitting 20 targets would, in theory, always cast a Moonfire as well. So in giant pools, maybe you Swipe. Now, the reason you're not going to maul even in single target outside of the one time during Incarn is even in Incarn, Mangle hits 3 targets. Single target, Mangle hits harder than Maul does. What's going to happen is you're just using a GCD that could be used either spreading Scintillating Moonlight or reducing the cooldown of Incarn to hit Maul instead. I did test with Gory Fur and Instincts of the Claw, and even then, the average Maul is hitting almost half as hard as Mangle. And that's just because Blizzard took it out back last season and said, look, Apex is doing echoes, it's making the spell too strong, so they nerfed it for echoes, and now echoes are gone. So Maul is kind of just dead there. But if you are min-maxing the proc in Incarn, you do want to track Awakened Spirits. You want to make sure you're only mauling afterwards. If the pool is 4 or more targets, you're going to replace Mangle with Maul. And if it's less than 4 targets, you're going to replace a Thrash with Maul for optimal damage gain. Other than that, as far as it goes with the whole debate on can you macro Ironfur or can you not, this ultimately comes down to your playstyle. I do recommend either way. If you macro it, you use a mod key or you double bind the buttons without the macro so you can generate the rage when you need to battle res. However, our new rotation is generating a lot more rage. So you're going to get extra rage from the Apex talents. You're going to get extra rage from all the Mangle casts. And some people will get extra rage from me saying it's okay to macro Iron. But for Frenzy Regen, it's going to be pretty damn near impossible to get below 10 rage. You will just need to use those non-macro casts when you're having to battle res, or if you're pulling rage to go into the next pool. Alright. I think that covers everything. But if you do want to support me, which I know is going to come up, and I don't want to give you guys the chance to rage bait me, so no, I did not donut wall this. I don't know how someone could donut wall the information and then claim they're doing it as a passion project or doing it to better the community when Ellesmere does his UI without charging at all, which you should probably download if you haven't, and use the code DALBEAR1 at checkout so I get 50% of the profits. And but in truth, this was put together because a lot of people are asking me. They wanted to know, and I did some testing and played around to see what worked best for me and what seemed to come out on top. I also did a bunch of boring math. So I'm just sharing this here. If you do want to support me because you found this helpful, you can choose to donate, subscribe, follow, like, comment, send it to your friends, post it on Reddit, any other way that you can think of to support me. If you hated it, and you can still support me by hate watching, so it's really up to you. I think that covers almost everything, but if you have any questions, you can always drop comments or stop by my stream and ask me while I'm live. But until next time, peace.